laptop dan zou waarschijnlijk wat goedkoper worden. Ja, maar 32 en dat is goedkoper.
Dus je had vroeger geen desktop?
Nee, voordat ik een laptop had, wel een desktop game, is maar echt een oude. Maar ja, omdat ik dan aan het punt kwam, heb ik gewoon een laptop gekocht en dacht ik ineens, waarom niet eens een gaming laptop? Dus dat is ook wel handig als je buiten in de was gaan doen. Ja, 20 minuten dus. Voor snelle tijd. Het is makkelijker als je bij vrienden wilt gaan gamen, om zo'n LAN-party te houden. En dan is zo.
Dat jij veel damper doet.
Baas, ja.
Oké.
Maar niet superveel, hè, maar zo zeker in het jaar of zo. Ik heb ook al vrienden gehad die gewoon een hele desktop meegenomen hebben.
Maar dat is echt vervelend. Dan zit je bezig met je scherm.
Ja, maar dat liep niet aan de rug ook af en toe een hele krat aan. Maar ik dan ben zo, als ik chance heb, als ik een flow kan ik mijn eigen toetsenbord en zo ook nemen, dan ga ik gewoon echt passen. Ja,
Oké.
als iemand eigenlijk niet competitief of niet
Hallo.
dan is dat nog steeds handiger om een laptop te hebben voor de hele. En nu, van de laptop is echt niet anders.
Okay, I think we need to start. So last time we had the tractors over here, so we couldn't cover the whole lesson of lecture 3. So I just review what we did last time, and then I continue the course. So first we checked the exercises. At that time we didn't have so much noise from outside, so I hope you understood, and you can also follow the video of the class. And then after that, we went for not here. Went for function parameters and arguments. Okay. Since I'm reviewing the courses, I mean, it's better that you listen because I cannot do the review for the third time. Okay, you ready? Okay, so we already discussed about all of these things last time, so I'm just reviewing them for the people who were not here and for the people who couldn't concentrate when we had the tractors here with the horn and so on. So the first thing that we said that, okay, we have function parameters and arguments, okay? And we said that, okay, these are function parameters and these are function arguments. So when we are defining a functions, the variables that we have inside the function definitions, we are calling them function parameters, and the variables that, or the values that we send when we are calling the function, we call them function arguments, okay? But these terms can be used interchangeably in different courses, different materials that you will find on the internet. But okay, you get the idea what they are not. We said, okay, if we define some variables here, these two variables will be defined inside the function itself, and they will be destroyed here, okay? Because we are creating a scope inside the function, okay? We said, okay, we have different ways of sending arguments to the parameters, to the function. And the first one was called by value. So if we define a variable like this, integer x, in the function declaration or function definition, and then we can pass some variables or some values when we are calling the function like this. This means that, okay, this int x here is just a new variable, okay? So it means that 6 will be copied in x. Or if I put here my function, better not to do it now. Why? Okay, you can see that we cannot waste our time on that. If I write here from my function y, so it means that I'm passing the argument y to x inside the function. It means that we are copying y into x. Okay, so there is no danger for y because we are just sending a copy of that value inside the function. whatever change that we make on X will not be reflected on the Y. So that's why we call it call by value, okay? So, but we said that, okay, we do this way of passing the arguments. Asma, please listen now, and then later we can discuss about the problems and so on. So when we are, we said that, okay, when can we pass the arguments? We are sending them when we are sending the fundamental data type like int, double, and so on. I said, okay, the variables that the data types that we have inside the standard inside the standard template library, they are not fundamental data types because they are all classes. The classes that you define includes multiple variables. They are not small variable, okay, small data types. So because of that, we don't use call by value for them. Why? Because you, in that case, you will copy a large amount of data inside your function. And I gave you an example. If you call that function multiple times, every time that you are calling that function, you're copying the data. Okay. So to avoid those big copies, we don't send structs, classes, including a standard template library, std array, std vector, std string, all of them. We don't send them by value. But how can we solve the situation for them? Because sometimes, okay, let's go for that. Then we discuss about references. Another way of sending the argument is call by reference, okay? But we need to know what is a reference. A reference, as you can see here, is just another name for a variable. So you have int I, which is defined as like an integer variable, and is set to 0. And then I'm defining j with this ampersand before the variable, and I'm setting that to another variable. I and j are the same now. If I change I set to I to 5 here, it's as if that I'm setting j to 5. Again, I set j 6. It's as if that I'm writing here I equals 5. Okay, so at the end, I have here I and j 6, and I and j are 6 plus, 6, and then I will be 12, and it means that also j is 12. And references are different from pointers. They are both just some simple variables, but we have two different names for one location of memory, okay? We can have even more. But how can we use this? Maybe I can already show it. Okay, how can we pass the arguments with reference? We said, okay, we have a function, for example, here. Instead of just writing int a, which was called by value, I'm writing int ampersand a, okay? So now I'm defining a reference in the function definition, not just a variable, not just a simple variable. I'm defining a reference variable. So if I call now here, I'm defining a variable value. I'm calling +1 by this value, by this variable. It means that a will be a reference to value, okay? So now I'm not copying the value inside this variable to a. I'm just sending the value there. So whatever change I make on a will be reflected to value 2. Clear? We already discussed about these things last time. I'm just going very fast just to have you with me. So, and we also mentioned that, okay, a function in C++ can only have one return variable. It's not like Python that you can have multiple variables returned here. Only one, okay? And if you have more items to be returned from your function, then you will define a reference inside your function, okay? Like here, I want to also return error, and I also have the compute division results here, okay? So I'm defining a reference here. I'm passing this error, this variable here, defined here, to the function. So whatever change happens inside this function on error, I will have it on error here in this variable here, okay? I'm also getting the results from the return type of return variable of this function, Okay, this is a structure that you will use when you are handling your errors. Okay, we will see an example later. We discussed about the error handling last time. We said we have 3 different ways: returning integer, Boolean values, as you can see, throwing exception. Both of these 2 things are not very recommended, but the first one is okay if you have very small function. So your function is just returning an success, like a Boolean variable, saying that, okay, if it's true or false, that's fine. You can send it like that. But otherwise, if you go for this way of error handling. But you should know there are some there are some libraries that they handle the error through exceptions. Okay, so whenever you are using a new function from a library, you need to go to their documentation, check how they are handling the errors, and then use that function accordingly. What does it mean? So you need to know, okay, this function, if you give this value, for example, like compute division here, it's if the b is 0, it will return the error, it will set the error to wrong input data. Okay, so you know that if your variable is wrong, you cannot trust the results of this compute division. Okay, you need to check first if the error happened or not. Okay, the same if it's throwing an exception, you need to write a try catch a structure over your function, catch the error. If the error happens, okay, you let the user know, for example, with a dialog, with a message. If not, then you trust the results of that function. Okay. These are the things in your exam we will check. So if you see that, for example, you have a function that you're using, for example, from Boost, OpenCV, I don't know, from even a standard template library, but you're not checking if there is an error or not. Then I or Adrian will ask you, okay, what if that error happens? Your answer would be like, okay, my program will crash. But that should not be your answer. You should say, okay, I handled the error like this. Okay, the user will get this message as the error. Okay, clear? So we saw these ones, and now we can go to the next lesson. 2, 3. Okay. So we also check this, the result, the answer to this exercise that you had in second lesson. You can go to there and see the see the explanation. But so we saw call by, oh, I forgot one more thing. Okay, here, there is one more thing that we need to discuss. So I mentioned call by value, call by reference. Okay, if I have a class, I want to send it and I don't want to change. I have a variable defined as type of class or defined as vector. Vector is also a template class. Okay. Now I'm passing it to the. I said, okay, you cannot passing it, that variable by value because it will be a copy of a big amount of data. Okay. So the next option is called by reference. I don't want to change that variable in my scenario. Sometimes you want to change it. If you don't want to change that vector, what can I do? I send it by reference, but I put a const before that, which means that that function is not allowed to change that parameter. Okay, so here, okay, since you didn't know about vectors and so on, I came up with this example, float. You don't need to do it, but you can also do it to make your design more secure, okay? But if I define a float here as const by reference, it means that b inside this function will not be changed. You cannot change. If you even write here b equals to 0, inside this one, you will get a syntax error. You cannot build your program. Okay, clear? So if you want to send a fundamental data type and you don't want to change it, you can just send it by value. Okay. If you have a fundamental data type or any type of variable that you don't want to change it, but you don't want also to make a copy, then you send it by const by reference. Okay. If you want to make a change, It's like it's your return value variable, then you send it by reference. Clear? There is fourth type. And it's called by address. Okay. Okay, now we can slow down. Okay, call by address. This is something that we didn't talk last time, okay? So to know call by address, we need to first learn about pointers. Clear? So we come back to that slide again. So first let's learn about pointers. I start with standard pointers, but you will not use the standard pointers. What you will use smart pointers that we will cover later. But you need to understand first pointers to be able to understand smart pointers. Second, there are some libraries like Evenqt that by default they use standard pointers. So you need to be able to communicate with those libraries to understand what's happening behind, but you don't use it. And if you use only a smart pointer, it's much easier than pointers itself. So a pointer is a variable that holds a memory address. So other pointers that we had till now, they had some variables inside themselves, okay? But now we have the address of a memory inside our variable, okay? A pointer, it is a variable similar to other variables, but the value that it has, it's an address of memory, okay? So if I define a variable, simple variable like this, the age is just a variable. It's not a pointer, okay? A simple variable. Pointer is also a variable, but it's just a simple variable. I'm defining that as onsite long int. In this PC, it takes 4 bytes of memory, okay? No problem. So the first, as you can see, the variable is pointing to the first item of the memory, okay? The age is defined as onsite long int, which means that it takes this amount of memory, but the age is pointing to the first byte of the memory, okay? The address of the age is 102, okay? So the value inside can be anything. The address is this one. It is just an example, and the different pieces is different. So the address of the address of operator, what is that? So if you put ampersand before a variable, it will return the address of the variable. So I have just a simple variable here, short var, and I'm setting that to 5. So inside short var, I have 5 stored, okay? So if I print that, I will get the value of short var, which is 5. And then I'm printing the address of short var, which you can see here, and then the address itself. So it will return where short var is stored, okay, the address of the memory. And it's like this on my PC, okay? Okay. So if I want to define now a pointer to an int, which for this example, which I'm setting that to 0, it means that it's a null pointer. So it's not pointing to any address of the memory, okay? I'm saying that, okay, it's a null pointer here when I put 0. Sometimes you have also in your compiler null PTR. Null PTR is like 0. It's a constant that you can just use. You write null PTR and then it's equals to this. As I wrote here that initialization is necessary. If you don't write here equals to 0 like this, then we call it wild pointer, okay? And it can be pointing to anything, like your variables. If you define just your int I, for example, and don't initialize it, it can have any values inside, okay? So I think in Python, if you don't assign, it will set to none by default. I don't know. I need to double check that, but I guess it's like that. But here it can have any value. So it's always good that you initialize it. And it's more necessary when you are defining a pointer. Okay. So you set it to 0. We saw this part now. So I'm defining a pointer with asterisk. Okay. So for reference, when I was defining a reference, I had ampersand here. But when I'm defining a pointer, I put asterisk here. Okay. I'm setting that to 0. So now I'm going to print this one. The first one was this. Then I saw the address of this one, which was this one. And now short VPAR address, and now I'm trying to show this one, which is 0. You see, this belongs to this line, okay? And then I'm assigning the address of short var, which is here, to short var p, to our pointer, okay? So now short var p should be similar to this line. This line was this. Short var p is now the same. So it has the address of this variable. Okay? So if I just print short var p, I don't need to put ampersand around short var p. Short var p, which is our pointer, already has the address. But if I print the address, but we said that, okay, pointers are also variables. So they are also stored in our memory. Okay? So if I use ampersand around short var p, I'm showing the address of the pointer. You see, and it's different. The pointer itself has the address of short var, but the address of short var p, which is the pointer, is this one. And these two are different from each other. Clear? Okay. So size of the pointer is 4 because it's defined as int. Okay. So what is indirection operator? If you want to access the value at the address held by a pointer, then you use indirection operator. So here, A is of type int, because we learned that before. If you are initializing a variable of type auto, it will define the type of the variable by the type of the value that is initialized to. Okay, so this value is integer, so A will be set as type integer. Now, I'm saying that, okay, address of A should be in AP, which means that this one is int star, which is AP is a pointer of type int. Okay, now I'm saying that, okay, this one, indirection operator, I'm accessing the value at the address held by this pointer. The value at this address is 1398, correct? So B will be int. Please write this one on your PCs. Okay. And if you don't have Visual Studio, you can use Inline Interpreter. Just Google one. Okay. Okay, good. I just want to be sure that you got this one. Inside your main function, just write these 4 lines and see the results. Let me know when you write it. You wrote it? So
Even worse. Yeah,
I can give you a suggestion. There is the app which you should have, okay. You can click, most of the time is like more clear than the thing that you see on there. And you can also double click on this one. Double click on that. Yeah, it goes in somewhere. Okay, come back. And as you understand that, that's why I cannot help.
That's the problem with Microsoft.
But you can change the language. You should be able to do that.
Say so.
Just Google on the internet and how can
Yeah,
you change the
but
language.
most, I have the same problem with 2022, where Microsoft says Windows is in French. Okay, everything is in French. So yeah.
The problem is that I cannot help you in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you give this, but I don't know if that's.
Okay, but the thing that I want to show it to you, I don't think that you have it in Microsoft, right? No, but in Visual Studio, if you put your mouse over auto, you will see which type of data type you will choose. And then you can play with that. Can I go? You did?
It's. Ook wat je doet in Visual Studio.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Niet de enigste die is.
One thing, you can it's not what it's because it was, but it's better for you.
It's wel een Visual Studio.
Have you ever used your Visual Studio before?
It's work. Dus het jij waar het op is,
Okay.
dan weet je gewoon niks.
What if you
Ik heb gewoon niks in de seconde. En gewoon niks, ik zeg zo, het is Dan kijk je maar.
Als dan hier heb je een A. Hier moet je. Dat is al fout.
Oké, dat is eigenlijk de class.
Dus je moet zeggen, tekst 2 erop staat. En hoe beter.
Can you share the link, please?
It should be in the Teams if you're earlier, but I wish that I had the rule on this one. I will make an account or no.
I mean, because
I just downloaded it and
there's this one, I think you're doing this one. I mean, canvas.
the link they used to share
That's
because I used this that because
Go down.
so that they use on this.
okay. Yes, I did this and then I downloaded it.
Ah.
This one. Because you said the 5.1 so
Then we do both sides thing. Spending things as in the whole weekend, the zone class control. Same video. So that's the one.
yeah.
That's one too.
Dat is ook best wel te maken. Gewoon namen worden gewoon heen en weer hierin. Maar het is al iets weer. Ik weet het.
Ja.
Ja,
maar het is niet heel.
It is just this one.
Gewoon standaard les nu. Nee, dat is niks met. En ja, dan komt iemand weer.
You use this one too,
Yeah.
so I gave you that.
Yeah.
Can I see, but it didn't let you even download it.
No,
Download it.
I just clicked on it and it downloaded automatically.
Ah, okay.
I tried to open a new window, but after the moment it just installed this one.
But I want to go for it.
Ja, dat is ook kost. Ik wil meer. Maar ik kies dames. Die is het echt veel.
Is it maybe in other downloads?
yeah. Sinds het zijn.
Maar we spannen.
Ik kom wel zien dat ik ben ijzer. Windows Machine Learning. Dat is goed. Dat is en zij zelf dat je moest je hebt ook op zo'n die of experimenteel of zo.
Als ik dat opzoek,
Die Windows Machine Learning.
dit is
Want de enige ding dat ik vond toen ik die ene error had, was dat afhankelijk is van de extensies.
Yeah. So this is interest. You have other IDs, you will not see it. But here Visual Studio helps you with this information that, okay, how they choosing that means, I mean, the data first here out. Did you see that? Okay, and you run it, but but you can play with it, variables and see. Did you run this one? Not yet. And you wrote it on, but as I said to others, if you put and you turn it, so we measure it out. Yeah. So you will see which type of data type this auto is, but this is only for Visual Studio. And if you use, for example, other IDEs, you may not have it. But in Visual Studio, you have this option to see which data type it's choosing. So. Okay, so now do this one. Write this line to
between these 3 lines, after these 3 lines, write this one and see the change. Okay, which one has changed? So with indirection operator, you can access the value stored at the address of the memory that pointer is pointing to. Okay, so we have a pointer. It has an address of a memory location. If I use indirection operator, I can access to the value in that address. I can either print it or I can either change the value inside. Okay, so with this one, I could change this, the value is stored at A. So A will be, so whatever I change, I make here on with A, with indirection operator on AP will be reflected on A. Okay, but it will not be reflected on B because B is just a simple variable and it's stored in another location of memory. It's just set to the value stored at this time on AP. Okay? Is it clear to everyone? Asma, I don't have you.
Yeah.
Is it clear? Okay. So that would be the output. So now we understood what pointers are. Now let's see how can we use them with functions, with passing the arguments. Okay. So we are defining a function here, as you can see, and inside this one, we are defining variables, which are a parameter. So this one is just a pointer. And inside that, I'm changing the value stored at the address that PTR is pointing to. I'm incrementing that by 1. So here in main, I'm defining a simple variable and it's 5. I'm passing the address of value to this function, to this pointer, correct? So as it's a pointer and set to the address of value. So whatever change I make on PTR using the indirection operator will be reflected on value 2. Okay, so it's very similar to call by reference, but okay, they are 2 different things. Okay, in call by reference, you had one reference ampersand here, and you had just a simple variable. But in call by pointers, you have asterisk here, and you have ampersand before value, correct? So now if I print value here, I will have 6 as the output. Okay. So we had 4 different ways of passing arguments. By value, which copies the data, but it doesn't change anything. So if I change A here, the change will not be reflected to the arguments that we use in the calling function. But if I want to return the value, I have to return it, literally return it like this to get this, the change on A. Okay. We don't use it for classes. And yeah, we don't use it for the big data types. We only use it for fundamental data types. So we don't need to write const int here. If you write, then we don't change. We are not allowed to write this function, this command here, but we don't need it because, okay, if you write const, cannot change A. By the way, I mean, in any case, if you call +1 by y will not be changed because A is just a copy. Another one was called by reference. We said, okay, we can define a reference here and then call it, and whatever change I have here will be reflected to the caller. Another one was const by reference. If I put here, I cannot write this command here because I'm saying that, okay, this variable should not be changed. And if I want to reflect the error, I have to have a return reflected result, then I have to return it. And the last one was called by address. I define a pointer here, and with indirection operator, I can change it. So that's the 4 different ways of passing arguments to the functions. Let's talk about memory. Was it clear, passing arguments? You have any question? No? Okay. So memory segments. We have the code segment, the initialized data segment, uninitialized data segment. These 3 are not much important for you. Okay, this is more about how your source code will be stored. Okay, but the 2 important ones for you is the call stack and the heap memory. Okay, till now, till this moment, we only worked with call stack, even if we had pointers. Because sometimes people think that, okay, when we have pointers, we are working with heap memory. No. Just really have this in your mind. No, it's not like that. So whatever we had till now, it was in a stack memory. Okay. But what's their difference? The call stack. Stack is cleaned automatically when a function returns. Okay, we said that, okay, we define variable in that function, it will, whatever we define inside the function, it will be deleted and so on. And the stack is cleaned, okay, when a function returns. The amount of a stack memory for a program is generally quite small. On Windows, it's 1 megabytes, on Linux, 8 megabytes of memory. I mentioned this before to you. So if you define an array like this, it's acceptable. But this one is not acceptable because it's bigger than your stack size. Okay, so if you have large amount of data, you cannot store it on your stack memory. You have to use either the heap memory or even sometimes your disk, which is totally an external data. So the reasons for a stack overflow: you have too many variables on the stack, or you're making 2 nested function calls. So for example, you have a recursive function and you're calling that recursively. I gave this example before, if you remember. Every time that you are calling, even if it's the same function, but you are calling that recursively. Every time that you call it, all the variables inside the function will be defined again. Okay? So for example, you have taking a factorial of a 1,000 number. I mean, that value in 1,000. And you are calling that like recursively 1,000 times. And then it means that every time that you are calling your 1,000 time, you're defining all the variables inside that. And then you can calculate yourself. So sometimes you can go above the stack size and you will get a stack overflow. Correct? So if I ask you, okay, what is the reason for a stack overflow? You will answer with these 2 questions, with these 2 answers. What is heap? So the memory you reserve remains available until you explicitly state you are done with it by freeing it, or until the program ends, assuming that your programming operating system cleans the memory out. Sometimes, for example, you're working with edge devices and you're even developing your own operating system, a small one. If that operating system is not written correctly, it may not even cleanse your memory, even if when your program ends. Okay? But normally on Windows and Linux, if you end your program, even if you don't write your program correctly, it will free that memory for you. But you should not wait till for operating system to cleanse your memory. Okay? You need, if you are working with the heap memory, you need to clean it yourself. Okay? But how we can work with the heap memory? if you are going to allocate memory on the heap, then you need to have the new operator. Okay? So you have int here. This is a pointer. You just learn how to define a pointer. Okay? If I use here new int, I'm saying that take an address of memory, take 4 bytes of memory from the heap. You take this amount of memory and return the address of that memory. And the address of that memory will be stored in PTR1. Okay? Here I'm saying that 5. It's like, okay, I have 5 integer values and give the address of the first item, the first integer. And PTR2 is stored. I mean, PTR2 stores that address of the memory. When you are finished with an area of memory, you must free it back to the system. So how you can delete it, how you can free that memory. So you call delete over that pointer. And then in that case, that heap memory will be released. You don't have access to that. That memory doesn't belong to your program anymore from this moment onward. Okay. But PTR still has that address. Or depending on the compiler, it can have any variable. I mean, any address inside. You need to set it to null PTR to avoid the while pointer thing that I mentioned before. Okay. So you delete it and then you set it to null PTR. But if you don't call delete on that, you still have that memory on your program. Okay? But mostly, if you are allocating the memory, normally you define a class. In the constructor, you allocate the memory. And in the destructor, you deallocate. So when you are defining a variable inside, I mean, when the definition would be, I mean, not definition. The declaration of your variable will be in your header file of your classes. Taking the memory from the heap will be in your constructor of your classes. And releasing them will be in your destructor of your classes. Normally it's like that, but it's not. I mean, you don't have to be exactly like this. But most of the time it's like that. We will learn about classes later. So we learn about what is a while pointer. We said that, okay, it could be pointing to anything because we are not setting that to 0, okay? These are the problems that you may have with pointers. So because of that, we set it to either null PTR or 0. Both are the same. What is a dangling pointer? A pointer that is pointing to the allocated memory, similar to the one that we saw before. Calling delete on a dangling pointer again crashes your program. Okay? So if I have this one, I'm getting the memory from the heap memory, and I'm changing the value of that address of the memory to 7. I delete it. Now I'm trying to access that address, the value of that address. This is an undefined behavior. And if I delete it, again, it's an undefined behavior because I already delete that one. Oh, sorry. So when you delete a pointer, you set it to 0. Okay? Calling delete on a null pointer is guaranteed to be safe. Okay? But using a null pointer is illegal and it will crash. Your program will crash. Okay? So the thing is that, for example, when we were defining the references, we said that we can have multiple references referring to the same location of memory. This is the same with pointers. You can have multiple pointers referring to the same address of memory. We learned that, okay? So if you delete one of them, it's as if you're deleting the memory for all of them because the memory is the same. With delete, you just release the memory. You're not deleting the pointers, okay? So then this comes to the action. You should avoid having multiple pointers that point at the same piece of dynamic memory. Dynamic memory means heap, or set all the pointers to 0 after allocating them. Okay, so if you delete one of them, you release the memory of that. You release that memory that you got with new from the heap. But if you set one of them to null PTR, doesn't mean that you're setting the other pointers to null PTR. You need to set all of them to null PTR. Okay? Clear? So, but try to avoid having multiple pointers referring to the same. It happens when you are sharing that with between different classes, but that's fine. Okay, you don't want to delete it like that. All these problems that I'm mentioning is with the standard pointers, not with the smart pointers. In the smart pointers, all these deleting things, releasing memory will be done by themselves. Okay, whenever they go out of a scope, they will be released. Okay. We will learn about them later. Operator new also can fail. I just mentioned when I was talking about error handling that, okay, when you are using a new command, I mean, new command, not this new, you need to always go for the documentation, check, okay, how they are handling the error. For new here, it will return an exception of type no, I mean, it will return an exception, and you need to catch that. Sorry. So to avoid that exception, you can write here std not row, okay, when you are getting memory from the heap memory. And then if you write like this, the value will be set to a null pointer if the integer allocation fails. Okay. Then you are responsible to check if this one has an address or not. If it doesn't have an address, it's 0 and it's equals to false. Okay, so we are saying that, okay, if it's 0, then could not allocate memory. Okay, I'm just letting the user know that, okay, an error happened. What is more important, and it happens often for beginners, even for experienced people, is memory leak. Okay, what is memory leak? I have a function here. I'm defining a variable and I'm getting the memory from the heap memory. What do you think is happening here? You can say whatever you till now you can understand from this line of code. I mean, these four lines of code. What do you know about these ones? Not only about the pointers in general, what do you know about this function? True, but okay, let's start really from the beginning. It's just a function, simple function. It's not returning anything, true? Okay. It doesn't have any parameters, true? Okay. And now here I'm defining a variable, correct? The variable is a pointer, okay? And I'm getting the memory from the heap memory, okay? I'm not setting that to a null PTR or anything. Yes, it's a while pointer, but does it matter? No, because after that, I'm not using it. This variable will be, this pointer itself will be deleted after this scope because it's a local pointer, correct? So it doesn't matter that if I set it, if it's a while pointer or not, okay? But what's important here? I'm getting memory from the heap memory. The address was stored in PTR. PTR will be deleted. How can I release this memory that I took? I have no access to that memory anymore, but that memory belongs to my program. This means memory leak, okay? So that's why I wrote everything here in details, but in red, Memory leaks happens when your program loses the address of some bit of the dynamically allocated memory from heap, okay? Before giving it back to the operating system, okay? I didn't return it back to the operating system. I could do it with delete function. When this happens, your program cannot delete the dynamically allocated memory because it is no longer knows where it is, okay? The operating system also cannot use this memory because it's considered to be still in use by your program. But how can you check that? One of the things, for example, you have Windows, you can go to your task manager, your program is running. You can go to your task manager and you see that by the run of your program, the more you use your program, the more memory will be allocated to your program. And you say, okay, why? Why? I mean, but based on the logic of your program, you know that, okay, that the memory should not increase. If it's increasing in your task manager, then you know that, okay, you have memory leak in your program, okay? And it happens with Qt because Qt uses standard pointers normally. And then, okay, if you define a new widget with your Qt, we will learn about Qt later, but since it's very close, I'm mentioning it here, okay? So you are defining just a widget, a button. All of them are pointers, okay? And then you're defining, for example, you have for loop and, okay, not a for loop. You imagine that you have a graphical screen and you are defining some lines, you are drawing something in that graphical screen in your Qt. Every drawing, every line, every point that you add to your graphical screen is a pointer with a special memory location, not just a simple pointer. It's getting the memory from the heap. So you think that, okay, I'm just drawing something while my memory is increasing, okay? I'm just clicking on that. But it's because you're not deleting, you're not erasing that. Even if you're erasing your screen, you're not releasing the memory. For example, you delete your graphical screen, you think that, okay, everything is done. No, behind that, you didn't delete your pointers, okay? But your own program, you don't use some standard pointers, only when you are working with Qt. Sometimes you still, even with Qt, you can use a smart pointer. So as long as you can use the smart pointers, you go for smart pointers. Okay, what is this one? Here we are saying that const int star x. X is a pointer, okay, to a constant integer. The value that is pointed to cannot be changed, okay? But I'm writing here int star const y. Y is a constant pointer to an integer. The integer inside y, the value itself, can be changed, but y cannot point to anything else. So we have a const pointer here, but we have here a pointer can refer to anything, but the value inside cannot be changed. Okay. This one, neither the value nor the address can be changed. Okay, none of them can be changed. These are a bit ambiguous, I know, and you probably never use it, but especially, I mean, in these different structures, but okay, you may read some sort of code and you don't know what's happening. So you should know these things to be able to understand other people's code. What is wrong here? Mhm.
we change the value in some variable.
True. So here, instead of changing, okay, let's just start from the beginning. I have a variable defined here, just a simple variable. Okay, but before I explain everything, which memory we are using here? Stack memory, heap memory, what do you see? Because I don't have a new operator here. Okay, I have pointers, but I'm not using heap memory. Clear? So I have int, just a a variable, and it's just a simple variable. I can print it. Okay, I'm assigning the address of some variable to pvar. Pvar is a pointer, and it's having an address in the stack memory. Okay, that address is in a stack memory. Now, based on this code, you can understand probably the person, because 9 is not an address. Address looks like really like 32 bits or 64 bits of values, okay? So this one is just an address that might not even belong to our program. So it can be anything. But you can understand based on this logic, the writer of this program wanted to change var because, okay, it was int. But to do so, that person had to put asterisk here, okay, in direction operator. So this is wrong. And now when you are trying to print this one, you are trying to access the location of memory, which is 9, and it might not exist. It might not belong to you. So this is wrong. Probably your program will crash. Okay. What is wrong here? Make it. Yes, exactly. So do I have, which memories I have here? And the stack, yeah. So first, pint itself is in the stack memory, okay? The address that it's referring to is an address in heap memory because it's taken from new, okay? So now I'm changing the value inside heap memory, okay? The value is stored in the heap memory because I'm using the indirection operator. I'm showing that. Now I'm releasing the memory in the heap memory. I'm saying that this, from now on, it doesn't belong to my program. You can take it. You're saying that to the operating system. Sometimes it will still be reserved for you because the operating system knows that, okay, probably you will take it back for a short amount of time, but legally it's deleted, okay? Syntax-wise, it's released. Now you're defining another variable. You're setting the getting the memory from the heap, setting that, blah, blah, doesn't matter. Here you're accessing a location. You forgot to set pint to 0, okay? So now it still has that memory, that address itself, inside pint, okay? It has that address, but that address doesn't belong to our program. Now I'm trying to change that address, the value in that address in the heap memory, but it doesn't belong to us. So we have an access violation. A program is trying to use some sort of memory on the operating system, on the PC, which has no access. Okay, so your program will crash. Okay, so that's it. What is wrong here?
It'll keep iterating.
Memory-wise, what will happen? Yeah. It has we will get a Stack Overflow because, okay, defining function itself, it will require memory. And every time that you are calling that, you're duplicating that. So because of that, you will get a Stack Overflow. Okay, was it clear till here? Try to check it yourself again because you may understand it now, but if you don't review that, you will forget. And it's confusing, and I know that. So, okay, let's go for function templates. Suppose you have defined a function to calculate the maximum of 2 integer values. I think you had an exercise before on this, which was greater or equal, no? It was for equality, I think. So this is your function. It's integer now, and you're saying that, okay, return x if x is bigger than y, and return y is bigger than x. Okay, it's a conditional operator that you learn in the first lesson. Later you realize that your function needs to work with doubles. What is the solution? The first simplest solution. Don't go for the best solution now. The first simplest solution that comes to your mind, what would be that? You had a function works with ints. Now you want to work with doubles. Yes. So the first simple answer is just to change it to double. But you will get warnings. Why? Because sometimes it again depends on your compiler. The good compilers gives you warning, and it's a potential bugs. When you are calling a function with arguments of double with the values of top integer, for example. Okay, it says that, okay, you're calling it with like that, but the type doesn't match and so on. But you still can run your program with no error, but later on you may have some bugs. Another solution is overloading. You learn about this one too. You remember what was overloading? Exactly. So we will have 2 different functions. The parameters are different. The type of the parameters will be different. The body is the same. Is it good? It's not good because the body is the same. We said that, okay, in overloading, the body should not be the same. They should do the same task conceptually, okay? But the body should not be the same. The only thing that is the same is their name. The arguments is different, the data types are different, but their body is also different. But in this scenario, the body is the same. The only thing that is different is the data type. So overloading is not the best answer, correct? So it's inefficient. Note that the code for the implementation of the double version of maximum is exactly the same as the int version of max, correct? What is the answer? The best answer is templates in this scenario, that the body is the same, the data types are different, okay? So the general programming guideline, duplicate code should be minimized as much as possible. Okay, if I write overloading, I'm duplicating it. I'm still duplicating the code. True, the body is the same. And at one time, if I decide to change something in that body, I need to go to all those duplicates, and I may not remember, and then change. Put that change there, which is okay. Might be a source for potential bugs. So how can I do this? Function templates are function that serves as a pattern for creating other similar functions. Okay, So we have a function here, +1, it's int. If I want to change that as a template, to change it to a template, then I need to write like this, template, above the function, I write template with this greater signs, type name, T. You can also write, I think, class here, but it's the same. And then from here, I'm saying that, okay, I have a type name T. You can write instead of T anything there. Okay, it's just a name that it's a placeholder. Okay, so you say that, okay, this is a type name T, and when later, when you are calling this function, that T will be replaced by the data type that you are calling to. Okay, you can use this T wherever in your function template. It doesn't have to be always in the return or here in your argument. It can be anywhere. You can have a mix of data type, other data types with this T too. So for example, you can have T here, you can write int here. You can have int, you can write T here. You can have T imp here and have other variables defined as int, classes, everything. So T is just a placeholder for you saying that, okay, later on, this will be replaced when I call the function, okay? You can also have multiple placeholder. You can write type name T, comma, type name Y. And then you can use T and Y in different places, okay? It's like a template, as the name says. What will happen by calling a template function? The compiler replaces the placeholder types with the actual variable types from the parameters in your function call, okay? It's kind of similar to auto modifier that we use, okay? When we put auto I equals to that value like 0, it will define the type of I based on the value 0, okay? Based on the type of that value. It's the same here, based on from the parameters in your function call, correct? Okay. Time is it? Let me see how many slides we have. Okay, let's do it. I think it's better than this way. Okay. Write this one, these two, and see the results. Since you still don't have classes, you write this one above your main function, or you use forward declaration and then you put this one down after your main function. These ones should be inside your main function. Okay? When you are done, let me know. Okay, did you write it?
To repair Visual Studio.
But you can use online interpreter for now, and then I can. Okay. You know this?
Yeah, I've worked, I was just trying to do the forward declaration again.
Or was it like
Yeah, we're not gonna get a lot going.
to, since at the point, since it's a template, it can, you cannot do it creative, you just put this one there. But if it was not a template, you could just write this one.
Oh, yeah.
But try this. The template probably.
That does work.
Some compilers, like your very many times, your programming batch, I will see some compilers do not accept it, they don't put this one in the header, or you have to put a mistake in it. But normally it's older version of compiler. But you didn't use online interpreters, that's like, remember you practice. It works?
Oh,
I hear, focus in the client. But try to understand, all of you, try to just not printing that, understand what's happening. Okay, what's happening to A, B, C, and D. Okay.
Yeah.
Peter?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Your
So
point?
this mistake.
He didn't write.
Can anyone explain what's happened to A, B, C, D?
Yeah, I'm just assuming you divide an integer by 2. If it's an uneven integer, you only get 1. And if you divide the double by double by 2, it's a 1.5.
So as you can see, depending on the type that you are initializing or you're calling your template, it's doing differently. You know, it's the same function, but it's kind of doing this differently because of the different data types that you are passing. Okay. Normally, this type, I mean, I always recommend to do this one because it's more readable. Okay. You can also do it like that, but it's not very readable from your code that dive2 is a template and it's not just a simple function. Okay. And now I can know, okay, this one is defined as int, this one is defined as double. Okay. So I will use that. Similar to vectors later on. I think today we will cover a bit of a standard template library too. There, when you are defining a vector, I even showed you, I think 2 lessons ago. You define std vector, this. It means that's why we call that library a standard template library. Okay, because it's always everything is inside that is a template. It's either it's a class, either it's a function. For now, you learn how to define a function template, but you can have class templates too. So let's see this one. So as I said, you can have multiple placeholders. In this one, as you can see, I have X, Y. Y is used for 2 of the items. Y is used for the return type. X is used only for the first one. I could here also define other variables too, no problem. Okay. So what's happening here? At the year that I was creating this one, it was close to our New Year. I'm from Iran. And that's why the message is there. But now we are not very close. So I'm saying that, okay, E, just a variable in the stack memory, message name, both of them are strings, and they are also from a stack memory. Then I'm calling this one with int and std string. So the first one will be X will be of type int, Y would be a string. For the second one, it's double and a string, again, double and a string. So, and it will return the value Y. So this is an exercise. I think you wrote this one before, but at that time you wrote it with overloading. But this time you will write it with templates. Okay. Write a program which receives 2 variables of the same type and checks if they are equal or not. You remember you did that. And I said that, okay, consider first, in the first scenario, 2 variables of type int, and the second one, 2 variables of type string. Okay. Another exercise, write a program which receives 2 variables of the same type and checks the following conditions. For int, it will check if it's greater, lesser, equal. For a string, it will do check the equality. Okay. Just as a hint, I will not give you the answers to these templates. We will need to continue with the course, but I will skip that part. And next lessons will come back to that part. But you can even check the slides yourself. But just as a hint, here for your string, the body is different. Correct? So for body of the string, you only have equality, but for these 3, you have this. The first thing that may come to your mind is that, okay, I will overload my template function. So what does it mean? I will write another function only for a string. More or less, it's the same, the correct solution, but not exactly. You need to go for a specializing your template. Okay, read about the specializing of templates, and we even have it in the course, but I will not teach it now because I want to see if you can find something new yourself, learn it yourself. So So we we talk about all of these things, pointers, memory, function templates. Today, the exercise, I skipped that because of the last time a bit our agenda has changed a bit. Otherwise, I had to start with here today, but okay. So the exercise, we will explain it, in the next lesson. You will do it at home. And then learn about template specialization yourself, but I will also explain it next lesson. We go now today for a standard template library. We have like half an hour and probably we cannot cover all of them, probably only here, and then the rest will remain for the next lesson. So this is you see also the answers. I really recommend you that don't come immediately, don't jump to the answers, don't jump here, but first try to solve it yourself and then we will discuss about them in the next lesson. You will also see the function templates, how you can handle the errors. This is exactly what you need to do for your project. You need to handle your errors like this. And these are these function templates that you can see. This is how you can use function templates in your projects too. Okay, now we go for a standard template library. I mentioned a standard template library many times, starting from the first lesson. Okay. What is a standard template library? It's a collection of classes that provide template containers, template algorithms, and template iterators. Okay. What are they? Sequence containers like vectors, string, DQ, list, array, and so forth. Associative containers like map, set, and so forth. Container adapters like a stack, queue, and so on. Unordered associated container, unordered map, unordered set, and so on. We cannot cover all of the containers that exist in the standard template library, but they are very similar to each other. The usage of them are very similar to each other. So if you learn a couple of them, you can also work with the others. You just need to go to the documentation and see what we have in the standard template library, okay? And it's always recommended to use, we also have algorithm in standard template library. Find if, max element, for each, copy, replace, remove it, sort, partial sort, ends elements, binary search, lower bound, inner product, and so on. We learned, if you remember, you had an exercise for binary search, and at the time I told you, okay, you have them in standard template library. It was just an exercise. In reality, you need to work with the standard template library with this algorithm. Why? Because they are more efficient. They went through many revisions, so they are very safe, very efficient. You go for them. You just need to think, okay, if I'm sorting this list, will other people also do the same thing in their code? Yes, if they do, probably it's already implemented in a standard template library. If it's a general task and many other people are using, don't implement it yourself. Go and use it. So for the documentation of container library, you can go to this link. For the algorithms, you can go to this link. And each of them has also different links. So let's start with the most common one, vector. Okay. Vector is a class. It's a dynamic array capable of growing as needed to contain its elements. Okay, unlike arrays that it was a sequential, standard arrays, It was a sequential array and you couldn't increase the length of the array after the definition. Here it's not like that. You can increase the length of the vector by your definition. If you already know the length of your vector, it's better you initialize it like that, because otherwise you will add overhead to your program, okay? But if you don't know, okay, then it's the case here. So I'm defining a vector. You see, whenever you see a data type inside these two signs, it shows that it's a template. Okay. So std vector, and vector is a data type. Okay, it means that it's a class. It cannot be a function. Correct? So it's a class, it's a template class. And I'm initializing that with int, which means that, okay, it's vector is vect is a variable of type vector int. So I'm defining I'm writing a for loop here, and with pushback, I'm adding every item to this vect. Vect has no size in the beginning, but when I push back, I will add items to this vector. Okay. How can I access to the items? The thing is that, if you remember with arrays, you had to get the size of the first element, the size of the array to find out what is the number of items existing in that array. But here you just call the method. This is called the method, okay, with dot from vect, which returns the number of items existing in vect, okay? But the thing is that the return type of size is of type std size t. It's not int. Since they are two different data types, you will get a warning, okay? And in many projects, in many companies, they will treat warnings as an error. You can just, for your compiler, you can set a variable and write that in your solution or in your CMake file. You write that, okay, treat all of the warnings as an error. So it means that you cannot run your program, cannot build your program. Even if in your personal code, you may only receive the warning, in reality, when you're working for a company, you will receive an error. Okay, because all the warnings are treated as an error. So how can I solve it? I have to put here, define I as a std size t, not int, not auto, because auto by default will set it to int. Okay, so I write a std size t. Now it's fine. I can compare I with vec size. Correct? Clear? Now, with this operation, I'm multiplying every item in vect I by 5. Okay, and I'm accessing to every elements like this, similar to arrays. Okay. Another thing, now I know that, okay, I have 10 items stored in vector. Okay. If I write this one, if it was not commented, commenting in C++ is like this. You can use Ctrl+K+C to comment your code, Ctrl+K+U to uncomment your code. Okay. It was not working on your PC. I don't know why. Maybe the version was different. In some, you can also change this short key. Sometimes you can change it to Python, then it's Ctrl/ something else. But by default, it's Ctrl+K+C. Now, I'm accessing the elements 12, which doesn't exist. Okay. If I access them with these brackets, I get an assertion failed. What is assertion failure? Assertion failure is that your program will crash. You cannot catch it. It's not like throwing an exception. If there is an exception being thrown, you can use try catch to catch it. Okay. But with assertion failure, you cannot catch it. Your program will just crash. Okay. But if you call it like this, .at, then if 12 doesn't exist, it will throw an exception, which I can then catch using try catch a statement. Okay. So now I know I should go to the vector documentation and see for the method at what is the type of the exception that it will return. Okay. I know there the type from the documentation, the type of exception that it will return is std out of range. Okay. Then I will write here std out of range ampersand error. I'm doing the call by reference thing. I don't want to make a copy of the error. Okay, it's again similar to the functions that you do it for the functions. And now if there is an error, which would be our case, it comes inside this one. The error will be caught. With .what, I can see the message of that exception. Every exception that will be thrown has a message from, std. Not all of the exceptions. The exception types inside the Thunder Temple library has a method called .what, and then you can print the message. Okay. Another thing that I could do, I could just write here 3 dots. Then it would catch any type of exception that happens inside this. But it's not recommended. Why? Because you're not specific. If you have multiple threads, if you have a long things here written, then you don't know, you may have different source of exception. You don't know which exception happened. Because you're just writing there, okay, any exception that happens, come here. Okay, so you always go to the documentation, check what type of exception you are getting, and you write specifically the type of the exception here. But when should I use at, and when should I use the brackets? If you already know, for example, here, you're already checking your for loop with the size. So you will never go out of the scope of the vector. Okay. So then you will never use at, because at will always do this, the check for you. Okay. So you're doing an extra investigation. So in that case, you will only use brackets. But if there is, for example, an input from the user, you're saying that, okay, write the ID, and then you are going to check that in your program. You'd have no control over the item that you are receiving, over the index that you are receiving. Then you will use at, but not just at with a try catch. Okay. Otherwise, we go for braces. Brackets. I don't know what do we call it. So let me see. Okay, we've covered vector, and then we stop it because I remember you had problem with your Visual Studios. That one queued, so. Okay, as I said, length of the vectors is not fixed. So I can initialize it with 10. I'm saying that, okay, it has get me, for now, I started with 10 items, okay? But then I can initialize it by 11 items. No problem, it will grow, okay? And then here I'm again saying that, okay, from 0 to 20, now I have 31 items because 20 more items has been added to this list, okay? And here I'm saying that from the start of this vector, which was here, till the end, the last item here, the end, this is a iterator pointing to the last item of the vector. Start from 0 and then increment by 1. So then you will have, from this command, you will have a vector from 0 to 31 or 30. So IOTA is defined in a header file called numeric. The vector itself is defined in a header file vector. So you need to include vector to be able to have vector. If you want to use this algorithm, IOTA, you need to include numeric and fills the range from first to last with sequentially increasing values, starting with the value here we set 0, and repetitively evaluating plus value. You learned before plus value incrementation. So there are really plenty of algorithms. You can go to the Thunder Temple library and see that, the links that I provided in the slides. iterators. You learn about for loops and so on. But we have 2 more with the standard template library, which are really good, especially the first one, okay? And it's always recommended to use it. So it's like a for each, okay? So it's going that, okay, go over every item of vector. I'm defining the item and the vector. And I'm saying that it's a item is a reference to vector. This you cannot do it in Python, okay? Here, if I change item, the change will be reflected on the items of vector because this is a reference to that item, okay? I'm saying that it's a reference, correct? If I put const reference, I'm avoiding the copies, but I cannot change it. I cannot change item here, okay? Similar what you learned for the functions. And if I don't write this, item will be just a copy of the items inside vector. Whatever change you make on a item will not be reflected on vect, on the items in vect. It's exactly similar to, to the functions, function calls that we had. Another thing, another iterator that we can have. We define a for, we said that, okay, with begin and end, we get an iterator to the beginning and end of your container, okay? So here, itr will be an iterator of type vector int, okay? It can iterate over the items of a vector of type int. The start will be this one, the end is this one. And it says that, okay, plus itr, increment itr by an address, by an item. For pointers, you can add the address and it will go to the next address. If you add a pointer by 1, it will go to the next address in the memory. For here, if you do plus, it will go to the next item, not just address, next item in your vector, okay? And it will do this till it reaches the end of the vector, okay? And similar to the standard pointers, with indirection operator, you can get the access to the item stored in that address, get access to the value stored in that address. And I'm adding that by incrementing them, all of them. With indirection, again, I can access to the value and show it. But this is smart. This is not like a standard pointer. You shouldn't be worried about losing memory and so on. I think for today is enough. If you have question, you can ask. Otherwise, we go for the installing the errors that you had and also your friend. Here, everything is clear. Okay, try to review the things.
Right, so this is what I like to do first. Class. So you see that this is a wizard. So I created the engine project. I was lacking only I only had an engine project of nothing. Ja. Dan moet je opnieuw denk dan zo niet wat ze 2017. It's the same one that you sent gedaan. Ben niet zeker. Right. En dan moet je het ook sturen. Ik ga het gewoon alle doorsturen en dan krijg je ook het via een kant zetten. Ja, kan dus.
That's but three legal sensor und just that that's on the boat minder doing it.
It's very interesting.
Just a
Wat is ook een beetje een ICU?
Is
En hoe is dat anders te zeggen?
die zoeken dat wat we dus I was struggling with this for hours. Thanks.
Oh, that's good.
I already looked at how to make like the whole QC project. But we make like 4 different files to for one class, and I was
Oh, okay, wait, I see already, you clicked.
yeah.
The DLL part, it's not supposed to be your project. You
Oh,
can
okay.
try it yourself, but it's not compulsory.
Okay, we don't have to do that. Okay.
No.
Okay.
But
But
the problem
I-
is that if I start with Cube now, you don't know many things, then it will be
Yeah.
jumping at the end.
It's just I want to start because we don't have that much time. So yeah.
But you don't
I'm
need to
sorry.
start with the GUI. You can still do it with
Okay.
your console.
Yeah, but I'm still curious about how do you like make a new class, because you can only reference to the I person, which contains then the virtual constructor of the class that is actually in person.
Mhm.
So how do you
But I need to explain a lot of things to be able to explain that. But again, the problem is that sometimes people, they spend a lot of time, but on the things that are not they are the things that they are very difficult, but then you will lose other things that you make.
Yeah.
So first, I suggest
Yeah.
that you start with console. Don't go for Geo. I'm saying that to everyone, okay? Don't go for the DLL thing for at least for now. First of all, it's not compulsory for anyone to do that. This year, starting from last year, we removed that. It's not in your project division, but I will teach it because I think it's important for you to learn it, okay? And second, don't start with the GUI. GUI is just a way to communicate with your user. Okay? You can start with console application, write your backend down. That's already important. For example, what is important? To know how you are going to design your program, how you are going to store your web items. For example, if it's a student, that project, student and teacher and so on, how you want to store them in a container, which variables you want to define, which classes you want to have. Okay. Next lesson, probably I will go also to the classes. You should know which objects you need to have. Design your program first, and then in the first, feedback Q&A session, we will talk about your design. That's more important than the fancy GUI. GUI is the end. DLL is uncompulsory. I think I said that.
This was another issue that I had. I thought it was because QTS updated, but it don't help me through the offline installation.
Not about Q. But do you have nothing in? Yeah, just write, void main and Python. No, that's
Is it
void. And that should be. It's fine now.
Control Shift right to build?
Control Shift B.
Yeah, it still failed.
Wait, what is the?
Yeah, it's right.
You have a class?
Yeah, we do, but if I'm good with. I just want to get this down because I've been a while. It's.
I'm thinking, what's in the goes out?
But the banks.
And then we return to
Yeah, so first thinking of the beginning, maybe so.
Ik heb dat maar even denk
Yeah, maybe there's
Ja, dat is wel mijn. Ja, het is ook nooit wat gevallen. Ik ben zeker, ik kan brief ja, ben maar zo'n kaas is. Zoals nieuw. Ja, dat is dat het stellen. Ja, maar ook het idee. Ik zei het niet weten.
And the extensions shouldn't be. Try to find.
But
we just destroyed the correct. I don't know how much time you have. That's
Not too much.
okay. Let's go and next week we can sit together and okay. I can next. Can you come earlier?
Yeah, it has to be. I'll try to debug a bit more, but if not,
Yeah, I also Google and if it doesn't solve, let me know and then we can come earlier.
Yeah.
Let's bring the class one positive.
Yeah.
Because you have. What about the guy that you sent an image to?
Yeah, so there's one and now we are seeing.
Okay.
So I follow the steps you said last. I don't see.
They close for this guy.
Did you download it?
Yeah.
Ik heb een Visual Studio.
Als je een PC gewoon probleem opgelost. Heel PC kopen. Voilà.
Ik heb dan ook een reinstall doen.
Also, a quick question. We have brainstormed ideas for a project. The first project of the object application. And we want to know if it was okay before we started the coding. We want to upload and share like the local upload, like it simulates an upload, but it's still local. Upload the video in the application. And the idea for a police system where you can blur information. I don't know how it will work, but
Will you recognize?
yes,
Like a monitor or something?
exactly. Also a playback of a video where you can search, like I want to find an apple in the video and it gives you a time slot and an image of the apple in the video. And it's speed up so you don't have to watch the full length of the video. Or a traffic system where it recognizes cars, counts them, and according to that, says the applies to read or
Second one. This doesn't,
police system.
because this one, yes.
Yeah.
In this one, you can do the searching thing, the sorting thing, because it's more, like, you can have more rooms to play with the C++ thing. But here it will be more involved in the image processing. Layering these things, these are all image processing. It's good. It's very nice if you have that. But if I wanted to prioritize them, I would go first this one and then that.
So first this and then.
Yeah, but, and update me in the meantime,
Yeah.
because then I can really feedback.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that you will go too much in the machine learning or image-based testing, and then you will lose the civil as part. It's good really, if you have time, do all of these things. These are really good for your future.
Okay.
Very good. But update me when you are.
You said last week that you might visit by the Google Pro, but
Forgot when I had AJI when in the startup beginning, I forgot to bring it.
so
If you want to really work with that now, I can also bring it during this week. Just set a time with me in the morning or after the classes, and I can bring it for you. I'm not in VUB, but I can come and
I
bring it.
don't think you will need it. This
So I don't know, the thing is, we don't really know how to work with it, so, yeah. We don't know how much time it will take to get going.
The Raspberry Pi itself will not take much time. I can even prepare it for you and then give it to you. That's not the difficult. Google Coral, okay, it will take some days. But still, it would be your last step, I think.
Okay, so then you need to, then you can better. Do you want me to send a mail?
Would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
Oh, that's maybe for next step. But it still doesn't show anything like it used to be.
Will you close it? Like you're
Yeah.
installing it? Yeah, let's do it together. You have a class? Just a word for you. Let's close it. And where was that? Where is the file? I mean, the file that you downloaded.
You in downloads.
Yeah, okay, VS in. Is it the one that we said? But the version should be the same. Should be doing so. Of your benefits. Go to. Have you already has 3 years to so 4 year to extension. Now you have it, disable this one.
Okay.
Now go to Qt tools, Qt options. Okay, you need to give the address. Let's go to the canvas again. Okay, the address that I gave was this one. Go to this address on your PC. See, you install Qt now.
Yes.
We can go and check if you are installed it. Qt. Go to the right screen. Go to the push screen. I can't even report with the Qt. Yeah. And Qt file. This one. And this. Correct. Yes. 2017. And give this. Copy this. And place it control V. Okay. This here is not a valid directory.
Maybe you should place it on the second.
Oh, sorry, yes, correct, control. But I need to write again the version name that I wrote in here. Oh, not video. Is it here? Okay. Write the same name here. I think by default we do one or two, just this one. It is not from here to. Yeah. Still, I. 164. But it requires this, our complete on this, it's not being, delete from being to the end. And also. Okay. So then it's now, okay, if you want to create a, don't go for cubes now, but if you want to create it. Okay, can you go by new and then project? So now you have cubes here, you see, and then you can create a cube GUI application, but don't start with cubes.
Okay.
Okay.
We just do the second project about the X-rays. So, and we wanted to ask if you had any examples of good projects just to see what we should do.
I cannot share that I have a good example of that, but I
Like
think
you
it's
have to send this to us, but like you can maybe show it on your laptop if you have it.
okay. On it. If not, if I cannot find it, I try to find it, but if I could not find it, you can always tell me, okay, what did she do every week? And I will give you feedback. You can then go, okay, Hassan, now you have these different classes, we think that we should have these objects. We want to have similar to what they are doing now. They just started. Oh yeah, I want to have this feature, I want to have this window, I want to do this, that, and every time I will help you with all the feedbacks that I can give, okay?
Okay.
But if you don't share with me, I cannot give you feedback, and at the end you will have problem. But I can say really, if you really share your project step by step, update me every time, and you get the feedback, you will get a good score. But if we don't communicate well, then okay.
Okay.
That will help you more than having a good sample.
And do we have to train the model ourselves? Because on the project description, it says we have to train it, but I think you said in the first
For
class
the first one, no, but for the second one, yes, but the training code is written in the link that I gave you.
Okay.
You just need to copy it on your Python code and train it, and that's it.
Okay.
Okay, so don't focus on that part because the code is given to you and it shouldn't be involved in your project. Just with some separate Python code.
Okay.